Companions, before I unfold today's chilling tale, I'm eager to provide an intriguing prelude. Out of our story viewers, 80% enjoy our videos but haven't subscribed to our channel yet. If you are among those 80%, all you need to do is a small task. Right underneath this clip lies the subscribe option. Go ahead and click it. All that's requested of you is this simple action. And while you're at it, do hit the notification bell so you're promptly alerted about our freshest uploads. Haunted Mansion. This story is based on a true incident from the year 1925. One morning, a woman named Andrea received news that gunshots were heard from her father's house. Andrea and her husband George couldn't believe the news and immediately set out for her father's home. Her father lived in a very large government property, a mansion in another city, so by the time they arrived, it was evening. When they returned, they saw the police gathered outside the mansion, and no one was going inside. The police wouldn't let Andrea and her husband George enter either. From that moment on, his apparition began to roam the same mansion. Subsequently, the dwellers of the abode started experiencing mysterious fatalities. With great difficulty, the girl's spirit was confined to one room by a priest, and that room was permanently locked. But Andrew's father, who had recently purchased that mansion, did not believe in these tales and broke the lock of that room during renovations, setting it open. This act unleashed the boy's ghastly specter. The authorities began to suggest that perhaps it was the girl's ghost who had slain Andrew's father, and now anyone stepping into the domicile would be slain by the boy's ghost. Hearing such superstitious words from the authorities, Andrea, along with George, filled with indignation, resolved to enter the house on their own. Inside, Andrea burst into tears upon reaching her father's room, where she saw his corpse on the floor with a bullet wound to his head. But George was nowhere to be found. She became more panicked not finding George and started calling out for her husband loudly, but there was no response. Standing scared and confused about what to do, she heard the crying of an unknown person. And then she heard her husband crying. But upon arriving there, he was completely shocked. There he found George's body, which bore the marks of a bullet wound to the head. And by his side lay the identical firearm that was discovered previously next to his father's corpse in his chamber. In that instance, Andrea sensed a touch upon her shoulder as though being gripped from the rear. Rotating her head, she beheld a young man of 18 years bearing a bullet wound atop his head, reminiscent of her father and spouse. But as soon as Android caught sight of the boy, he vanished into thin air right before her eyes. Despite all that had happened, Andrea somehow mustered the courage to carry out the bodies of her husband and father from the house one by one. But after that day, she changed completely
and became utterly silent. Even on the day of her father and George's funeral, she did not respond to any of George's parents' words, nor to her brothers. She was shocked. Everyone was very worried for her, but no one knew just how terrified Andrea was, because since the death of her father and husband, she kept seeing the spirit of that same 18-year-old boy everywhere she went. At any time, he could seize control of Andrea's body, and he kept whispering one thing in her ear. He was deeply enamored with her, and should she too spurn his affection, he vowed to end her life as well. Wherever Andrea went, she saw the same boy who would seize her every time in Andrea's body.
Severely wounded, a frightened and disturbed Andrea even visited a psychiatrist, but to no effect. Her body kept bruising daily. Slowly, her mental state worsened from bad to worse. Then one day, locals near the mansion witnessed something very strange, poor and terrifying. They saw a very frail-looking android run and break the mansion's lock, entering before anyone could understand. Then, gunshots were heard from inside. After a long time, when no one went inside, word eventually got to the town's mayor. He commanded the police to investigate the scene alongside a clergyman. Hesitantly, a pair of officers went in and discovered Andrea Kailash in a deep slumber on the floor. A bullet wound was evident on her forehead, and a pistol was nearby, suggesting to them that the deeds were linked to the ghost of the young boy who had passed away at 18. Following these events, the mansion was permanently closed off.